Hey guys, Joel with CarMix here. Today we got the Corvette C8. Never driven one, never reviewed one. It's pretty raw, to be honest. Being brand new, let's look at the interior. First impressions, to be honest, with the door open before we get into it, they've always said the Chevy is the poor man's supercar, sports car, looking like a Ferrari, but 1/3 the price. So pretty classic Chevy interior, comfy, feels like a domestic when you're supposed to be in a supercar. One thing I did notice with the C8 is the center console. It's all kind of driver focused. They're trying to be like the 720, they're trying to be like the Ferraris, but in the Chevrolet, with a better budget, obviously. The full interior, black on black, red, black badges on the exterior. First impressions of the inside, not bad for a Chevy. Back here in the glass, you can see the full exposed motor, something that you don't see on a lot of the other supercars, so that's a little bit different. Comfortability-wise, the seats are actually very nicely bolstered, but it still feels like you're sitting in like a Chevy Silverado. When it comes to the space in here, there's not much room in the back. The Lambos have a little bit more room because they don't have the space up front. The steering wheel is, again, kind of classic Chevy. It's got all the knobs, unlike all the other supercars, so it's a little bit lower end that way. Comparing the interior to the other supercars that we kind of looked at today, being the Huracan, the 720, and the Ferrari, when you get into it, you still feel like you're in a domestic, like a GM, as where the other ones feels a little more exotic. The exterior, obviously, they're trying to compare and keep up with the European exotic market, but the interior is still very American. Looking at the C8 versus the previous predecessors, like the C6 and the C7 even, they are a lot more modern when it comes to the center console, probably have cordless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as where the older stuff is very basic and you don't have much going on there. But for the most part, it does feel like a supercar for being that domestic. So last thing before I get out of the C8 here, this model is a Targa top. So right now it is a little bit hard to get out, but if you're in the summertime and you have the Targa off, a lot of headspace to get out. Doesn't matter if you're short or tall. So we'll jump out and we'll check the outside. The first two things that I noticed, the active arrow on the side here, kind of probably cooling down the brake system, and the rads in the back is a plus. The negative I see out here compared to the all other supercars is the rims. They are very basic. There's no deep dish. I don't know if they're staggered or not. They're very plain Jane. As you come to the back though, you have that full glass, so you can see the V8 in there as well. We sat in the interior, we looked at the back, kind of mediocre. As you come to the front though, this is where it starts to shine and kind of gets the supercar look. They got the more sleek front end. They got the active arrow with the scoops in there as well. Looking in the frunk, compared to the other supercars, to be honest, it's just as small. I think it drops down a little bit deeper. So last thing on the C8 here is I noticed like the front end, like I said, is very rigid, and looking specifically at the hood when it comes to the design and the contour of it. We were looking at the Lambo earlier, and if we can take a look at it real quick. They grabbed a little bit of inspiration, obviously, from the Italian market. And as you see the front end of the Huracan, it's got that pointy contour. It's got the rigid designs as well. Overall, looking at the Huracan, looking at the 488 Ferraris, coming back to a Stingray. Final opinion is it's kind of bland. I know there's a couple different variations. I know this is a basic Stingray. We got the Z06 and the ZR1s coming out. But when it comes to this specific vehicle, if you haven't seen or been in any other exotics, it's the car for you. It's a good starter car. Joel with CarMix. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow.